we should stop equally pushing this notion that the world must continue along a conflict and misguided sense of competition between the Occidentals and the Orientals. That China is the obstacle to a deal. Three things we say about China, and you all know about it. There are more poor people in China than the entire of Africa. The only way to help China reduce rapidly its emissions is to help it through transfer of technology. Rapid transfer of technology in order to reduce emissions. Because the third leg of this argument, the poor Chinese have a right which we must support, and that is a right to development. The conservative thinking that it's all about national strategic advantage or strategic competitive advantage is not going to help us. So what I ask of Obama is to join as a president, as the leader of the industrialized nations, is to join Kyoto Protocol, is to refuse a deal based on 2% that will condemn Africa and its small islands to death, and to avail and to help finance a global deal on climate change. Remember what the United States did after the war to Europe. The United States then has the size of 66% of the global economy. It launched a Marshall Plan. That Marshall Plan was 3.2% of the US economy. And that in addition to the fact, when you factor in the fact that Europe had the capacity and the know-how, you can see that the total package necessary as a starting point for addressing climate change from public finance is not less than 5%. And it's commonsensical. Think about it in this way, without going to economics. If you have a house that has decayed, or if you have a school in your neighborhood that has been built or infected by asbestos, how much would it cost to repair it? It's not less than 30% of the price of that. So I do believe that if the United States did that before, President Obama should follow in that tradition, in saying to the rest of the world, we are able, we have more than sufficient financing and capital to help not only the poor, but to help ourselves. Because ultimately, after we are destroyed, there will be many Catarinas in the United States. And the same thing is true of the Europeans. If you have received help that enabled you to rebuild your economies and to become prosperous, how come suddenly you have turned mean? Because that $2.5 billion is definitely what some of the big Western industrialists lose without a sleep over a trade. And I do want you to ask President Obama a simple question. Because as much as he's an American citizen, he is an extended citizen, if there is such a notion, of Africa. Doesn't that lay on him any moral obligation to do what he can? Shouldn't he commit to the principles on which many of us find ourselves fascinated and grateful that there is such somebody like him today being the President of the United States? Because if it's because his advisors are part and parcel of the Bush administration or the Reaganized Democrats, then he should do something about that. He's the president after all. If it's because he is thinking that this will save his political life for the next term, then inaction will actually lead to the opposite. A leader acts. A leader helps formulate the right policies, the right direction. That's why one is a leader. A leader takes tough stance. If healthcare is so important and he is fighting that battle, climate change is as 100 times more important. And it is your job as American civil society to help build that momentum. Yes, your task is a tough one because you're moving from a very low base. But that's part of life. We will not give up because the West have power, absolute power, and accept whatever choices they will make. We will continue to defend the interests of our people and the whole world. This equally applies to the Australians, New Zealand, Japan, and many other developed countries' leaders. Many of them have been elected to office